So let's jump into it. So guys, let me preface this by saying that the reason I'm sharing this information this morning is because this AEP is not like other AEPs. I want to be emphatic about that. I know that the information I'm sharing for some of you is going to be redundant because I know I've gone over this already Thursday and Friday of last week, and I think we touched on it a little bit prior to that. But I don't think it's resonating with a lot of people, and I don't think a lot of folks are understanding the significance. So I want to talk about what's changing, why it's important, and what you should be doing about it, and finally, what resources you have available to help you make that connection. Okay, so first, let's talk about what's changing. For 2025, there's three main changes that are going to be significant in Medicare. Now, we still don't know the Medicare Part A and B information yet as far as premiums and the deductibles. We don't know what the cost of living adjustments will be for Social Security income, but we do know the information on Part D. Now, first thing, there's going to be a cap on out-of-pocket cost for 2025. Okay, it's going to be $2,000. That is huge. Any senior that's spending more than $2,000 a year on their prescriptions is going to see a huge break in and have an opportunity to experience a huge reduction in their out-of-pocket costs. Also, something I should have also noted as a fourth bullet point is they have also the opportunity to spread their costs over a longer period of time. In 2025, they'll have the opportunity to, in effect, kind of finance their prescriptions so that they're spreading. Instead of, let's say they're spending $400 or $500, let's say you're spending $400 a month on medications. That would mean that for the first 5 months of the year, they would have to come up with $400 a month. Well, this year they have the opportunity to spread that cost over the full year. So even though their costs are capped at $2,000, this gives them opportunity, instead of spending $400 a month over for the first 5 months, allows them to spread that $2,000, which comes down to about like 160 some odd dollars a month. So that's another huge opportunity for folks that are taking a lot of medications. Next thing, elimination of the donut hole, the coverage gap. Again, this is another huge opportunity. Once folks left the initial coverage phase, they would enter the donut hole. In the donut hole, they would normally have a higher cost share than normal, okay, than the previous phase. That's going away entirely, which means that folks are going directly from the initial coverage phase up into the catastrophic phase. In the catastrophic phase, they don't have cost share. Their prescription costs are covered for them. Now, the third change, and this is where the rubber is really going to hit the road for 2025, is that there's going to be an increased responsibility for the insurance companies to cover the costs in the catastrophic phase. Okay, beneficiaries will be paying zero. There's been a shift in who's paying those additional costs. What the beneficiaries no longer have to pay. So all in all, if I were a beneficiary, if I was a Medicare beneficiary looking at this, I'll say, man, this is great. 2025 is going to be awesome. But there's another side to that story. And that other side of the story begins with how that cost is being shifted. So I want to make sure everyone is very clear on what that means and how that works. This has been shared before, but again, it's important enough that we take the time to really get a good grasp on this. So this chart is showing who's paying for what in what phase. So just going back to 2023. So you had the deductible phase. So again, the deductible at that point in time, the seniors paid the full deductible, okay, 100% of that. So if their insurance plan did not cover the deductible, so like, for example, many MAPD plans would cover the deductible, which meant that the year would begin and the seniors would only pay their cost share, if their copay on their medications. But if their plan did not cover the deductible, that's a hard one to say, the deductible, back to back, they would have hundreds of dollars, depending upon the year. I think for 2025, I think it's what, 590, something in that order. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks, if anyone knows that number off the top of your head. So that number is going up. Then you have the initial coverage phase. This is what I was referencing before. Okay, again, in that phase, the seniors are paying 25% of the cost. 75% of that cost is covered by the drug plans. When they hit the coverage gap, again, the seniors are paying 25% of that cost. The drug manufacturers are covering 70% of the costs. And then the Part D plans are only paying 5%. That was last year. Okay. Now, a big change, or a big one here is when they hit the catastrophic phase, Medicare was covering 80% of the costs. The Part D plans were covering 15%, and the enrollees, the customer, your customers, were paying 5% last year. Coming into this year, the big deal is when they hit the catastrophic phase, your customers no longer had to pay anything. Okay, Medicare was paying 80% of the cost, and the drug plans were paying 20% of that cost. Another big thing is the maximum out of pocket. In 2023, it was $3,100. It went up $150 to $3,250. Okay. Here's where things get interesting. So for 2025, the maximum out of pocket is dropping down to $2,000. So the bar is being lowered. That means more people will cross that bar. More people, if you look at it, okay, if the measurement is how many people are spending more than $3,000 a year on prescriptions, it's going to be a smaller population. If you turn around and ask the same question, okay, how many people are spending more than $2,000, then it's going to be a larger population. So we're talking about more people that are going to hit the catastrophic coverage phase. Okay. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In 2025, Medicare is no longer paying 80% of that cost. Medicare is only paying 20%. The insurance companies, the Part D plans, are going from covering 20% of that cost up to covering 60%. And also it's being introduced that the drug manufacturers are also going to have to ante up, and they're going to have to cover 20% of the cost as well. Okay, so at a glance, you might look at that and say, okay, cool, whatever. As long as my customer doesn't have to pay for it, I'm good. What difference does it make? Well, here's where the challenge comes in. When you, and this is just recapping the points I just made, when these insurance companies are now on the hook to cover more of the cost, where do you think that money is going to come from? Okay, for MAPD plans, for example, there's a cap on how much profit they can make. Okay, there's a expense ratio they have to maintain. So if their costs go up, the only option they have is to scale back other benefits, because they probably don't have enough profit, or they may not have enough profits to absorb it, to take it out of their profits. And they probably don't want to take it out of their profits. So their benefits are most likely going to be impacted. Okay. So let's dive into this a little deeper. How carriers will most likely respond? Premium adjustments. Okay. So there are a lot of plans out there. For example, I know Welker had a plan that's like a zero premium Part D plan. Okay, those types of plans will either do, they're going to do one of two things. They're either no longer going to be zero premium plans, so they're not going to exist in the form that they are in now, or they're going to go away altogether. Okay, because the premiums, a zero premium Part D plan in this world just doesn't work. It's not cost effective. Okay, the next thing, changes in cost sharing structures. So what that means is the copays can go up. So, that the world of having $0 tier 1 medications, not saying across the board that's what's going to happen, but it can be that, the seniors start paying more on their tier 1s. How does that help the insurance companies? Look at it this way. Not everybody is going to hit the catastrophic coverage phase. But if everybody is paying more of their costs across the board, that means that reduces the out-of-pocket cost, the cost for the insurance company, and helps them to absorb the cost for the folks that have taken a lot of medications. Okay. Next thing, formulary adjustments. You can look at it and see that, okay, maybe there's not a whole lot of changes in the formulary. The premiums maybe don't change too much. The tier cost maybe don't change too much, but they can shift medications in those tiers. So you could have a customer that's taking a tier 2 medication, and now that tier 2 medication is moved to a tier 3 medication. So now it's still costing them more. So they're going to have to look at all of the details. The last thing is enhanced benefits, especially as it relates to Medicare Advantage plans. Okay, the ancillary benefits like transportation, gas cards, cash cards, gym memberships, all the extra programs, they are likely to see change or go away in many cases. So that's why this year, more so than any other year, it is critical that seniors are looking at their ANOC letters. Their ANOC letters are going to explain to them, this is what's changing in your plan, okay? In past years, a lot of times there weren't a lot of significant changes to those plans. This slide is emphasizing that the IRA policy is basically focusing on reducing inflation, helping consumers reduce their out-of-pocket costs. But there are consequences to that. You can't just say, hey, look, you don't have to pay anything. When something costs something, somebody has to pay the bill. So you have to ask yourself, where's that money coming from? All right. So as a result of these carrier disruptions, these changes, it's expected that as many as 80% of consumers, senior consumers, are going to be shopping for new coverage this year. Okay. Does that mean they're going to change? No. But because they see that there's changes in their current plan, they're going to want to look and see, well, is there something better? Now, in this world, no particular insurance plan is going to be the villain. The customer looks at their plan and says, oh, my cash card went from, I'm making these numbers up, $200 a month to down to $20 a month. Okay, I'm going to go and find somebody. I can't believe they did that to me. They're going to find that all the other plans have changed too. So it's not a comparison like it was last year. If someone was looking at, company A versus company B last year and they chose company B, they come and get their ANOC letter this year and they find out that company B is not offering the same benefits they got last year, that they were offered last year. It most likely will not be that company A is offering the same thing they were offering last year either. Okay, that means it's resetting the table. And the reason there's such a big opportunity for us is that on average, there are about 40 different plans available in each market. So a senior going out there shopping for new coverage is going to have to sift through on average about 40 different plans. And they don't know, an MA plan versus a D-SNP or a chronic SNP or an institutional SNP. Like, they don't know what's what. They may see a plan, oh, I like this plan. It's got all these great benefits. Oh, but you have to be dual eligible for that. They don't know that. Okay, that's where the opportunity comes in for us as agents to make sure we roll up our sleeves and get in front of our customers. Okay, it's a huge opportunity to gain clients because, again, every senior on Medicare and using a supplement, Part D or MAPD plan will be impacted. Okay, I should say will be, not can be. Okay, not just the people that have a lot of medications or spending hundreds of dollars a month. It's not just them that's being impacted, everybody, okay? So if a customer needs to make a change, you have the opportunity to be the agent of change for them. So it allows you to acquire additional clients. However, on the flip side, if you have a book of business, your clients are impacted as well. And if you're not the agent of change for them, if you're not the one that's getting in front of them proactively and letting them know what's going on, and offering to help them make their coverage selection, somebody else will. So it doesn't matter that you gain 20% more clients this year if you lose 30% on the back end. It's about growth. So you have to have both a defensive and an offensive strategy to make sure that you're addressing both your existing clients and you're prepared to help the new folks that you talk to. Okay. This is unlike most years. Most years, there's not, it's like market by market. It's not universal like this. Like you might have one market that has a lot of disruption or a couple of markets that have a lot of disruption. You don't have a nationwide disruption like this. That's why this year is going to be so different. Okay. Next. So how do we prepare for AEP? The first thing is right now, it's August. Okay. We are about a month from when ANOC letters go out. Okay. Now is the time to explain to your customers what is changing. Okay, you want them to understand what's changing for Medicare for 2025, and then the consequences of that. That way they know how important it is for them to read their ANOC letters. And you want to educate them on how to review that. They should have received an ANOC letter for 2024. Doesn't hurt to go back and use that as an example. Hey, look, on your 20, the letter you got last year, okay, it showed you line by line, side by side, what's changing from 2023 to 2024. You're going to get another letter just like this in 2025, this year in 2024, for 2025. It's very important that you read this. Okay. Now, the next thing is, in those letters, it typically is going to direct the customers, if they want to shop around, it's going to direct them to go to Medicare.gov. You want to redirect them. Okay. You want to that's why you want to get in front of them. They're going to get their ANOC letter, but you don't want them going to Medicare.gov to shop for their coverage, because if they go to Medicare.gov and sign up, you don't get credit for that sale. You want them to go to your Pearl if they're going to shop online. You have a Pearl available to you through the insurance carriers. You have 3 different options of Pearls available to you through Integrity. You have Medicare Center, you have Connect Your DRX, and you have Sunfire. So you can choose the one that you want. And that it can be where your customers are directed to go and shop. Or, of course, the option of, hey, hand-to-hand, face-to-face, belly-to-belly, well, maybe not belly-to-belly, but face-to-face, or over the phone, one-on-one, talking to your customers and helping them shop as their agent, okay? So that's what I would be focusing on right now with your clients. Like today, if you don't have a strategy to reach out to your clients today, then you're missing the ball. Next thing, portfolio growth starts now. Okay, any senior you're talking to, a lot of times people are in the mindset that like we're in this kind of limbo land where we don't know the plan details for 2025 yet. So we're kind of taking our feet off the gas because, hey, I don't want to go really hard and pushing customers into this plan and then find out that it's going to change come next year. Well, the key thing here is these changes in Medicare are going to impact everyone. That's what you want to be focusing on right now. Making sure seniors are aware of that and basically prepping them to contact you. Even new people you talk to. Hey, look, if you have questions, concerns, you don't have someone to talk to, I'm available. I can be your agent. I can help you understand what's going on. Okay? Some resources that are available to help in that regard. Because one thing I want to emphasize, if October 1 comes around and your calendar is not full of appointments with people, that means you have failed in how you've managed August and September. That's why we're talking about this. You've got 60 days to implement a strategy to get in front of customers and educate them on what's changing. And then as a result of that education, now gives you an opportunity to set up your calendar. Okay. You're offering them information without there being any cost to them. All right. So some resources. So one of the things, I talked about utilizing your Pearl. Well, if you look at your Pearl, and for those that know, Pearl is a personal universal resource locator, or for lack in common vernacular, it's a personalized website. Okay. So through Integrity, as an example, you have a website that basically is branded to you, and customers can go on that site and shop for Medicare Advantage plans. And if they make a purchase through your website, you get credit for that sale. You acquire that client, you're paid the same commission, you paid the same renewals if those customers enroll through your website. Now, the challenge with that, though, is that Pearls are very long website addresses, okay, and they're not comprehensive. So my recommendation would be that you go and purchase for your business your own website address. Insurancewithjohn.com or whatever you want to call it. Something that's easy for a customer to remember. Once you own that website address, you can redirect any traffic that goes to that website to whatever Pearl you want it to go to, or whatever site you want it to go to. Okay. So the first recommendation here, and there's others. GoDaddy is not the only place you can go to get a website, but it's the one I use, and it seems to be the most comprehensive for me. But GoDaddy.com is where you can go and shop and see if websites are available, and you can purchase a website. And it's not a huge expense. Owning a website address is like $15, $20 a year. Okay. So it doesn't cost a lot of money to own the website address. But owning the website address is not where it ends. Okay. You have to, it has to, there has to be content there. Once you have own the website address, you're not done. You're either redirecting the traffic that goes to that website address to an existing site, which a Pearl would be an example, or you can build out your own website and you need to have that hosted. GoDaddy also offers hosting services where they can actually host a website for you. You can actually have wizards that you can go in and use and create your own website. Typically, off the top of my head, it's like $200-$300 a year, something along those lines to have a website hosted through GoDaddy. Now, I also have listed here Zoho sites, which is an alternative to using GoDaddy.com to host your website, because if you already have a subscription through Global, it's like $45 a month for a subscription for Zoho, and Zoho sites comes with that, and it has a system that allows you to host a website there as well. Okay. Any of these things, if folks want more detail, we have a tech talk on Thursday. Please just let me know, and we can take a deeper dive into any of these topics there. The last one on the website side, and there's tons of other resources that are available, but these are just some I wanted to highlight. Q1medicare.com is going to also be a huge resource. If you go to Q1medicare.com, there, across the top navigational bar, there is a link for 2025. You click on that. As information becomes available on the new plan year, they are highlighting all of that. Right now, they have very good, granular, deep information on the changes for Part D for 2025. They even have a history of the plan structures for 2025. I mean, for Part D going back to 2021. So you can see year over year how the deductibles and so forth have changed, and the cost structure has changed over the years. So that's important to have. Also, on that site, you can compare plans year over year, which is going to be significant for 2025. If you're talking to a customer that says, hey, I have the Humana Gold plan in this county, now you can actually go in once the website's been updated with the 2025 information. That information is not there yet, but once it has been updated, then you can pull those plans up and you can have the information side by side showing you what's changed year over year. Okay. Couple more things and I'll open it up for questions. Email. Okay, if you own a website address, hey, buy insurance from john.com. Well, why not make that your email address also? john@buyinsuranceFromJohn.com. So you can host your email instead of having a Gmail or a Yahoo account, having an actual professional email. You can actually purchase hosting for email through GoDaddy.com as well. If you have a subscription with Zoho, that's also included. You can actually host your email through Zoho in that same $45 you're already spending. Okay. Last thing is email blast. There are email blasts. If you have email addresses for your customers, it's a great way to get the message out there to them quickly. Actually, I should have added a couple more tools. You want to have a communication strategy. How am I going to get, if I have a large book of business, how am I going to get the word out to people as quickly as possible? So having an email blast is one way to get the information out there. Zoho Campaign, again, another tool available to you through your Zoho subscription. If you have email addresses for your clients, it allows you to do email blasts to your customers. Okay. Campaigner is another tool. Again, there's tons of tools, MailChimp, there's all kinds of other tools that are available. These are just a couple that I'm highlighting, but these are tools to get email out. Something else that I should have referenced here, doing web meetings like this, inviting customers to a web meeting where you can go over what's changing in Part D in Medicare. And mind you, you're not you're not pitching products. It's the intent here is solely to educate them on what's changing and what the downstream impacts will be. It's allowing you to get in front of people with information that is pertinent to them, and basically let them know that, hey, you know what you're talking about. With Zoho, you also have Zoho Meeting, again, including your subscription, and it also allows you to host meetings with customers. The last thing I have here is voicemail drops. Okay, sometimes people hearing your voice, if you already have a relationship with your book of business, being able to get voice messages out to all of your customers all at one time instead of you having to individually call each person can have a significant impact, and it can be accomplished much more efficiently by doing it in mass. An example of that type of program is one I learned from another peer at the Leadership Summit this year, slybroadcast.com. It's a tool that allows you to leave messages in the customer's voicemail without actually having to call them. You record one message, you load the phone numbers that you want to send that message to, and the system calls all those folks and leaves the messages in their voicemail. The call to action typically is for them to call you back. However, if you have a comprehensive website, you can actually redirect that customer to your website and have a call to action there. You can have whatever content that you want them to see right there on your website. So again, there's a lot that you can do now. Probably, yesterday is the time to get rocking and rolling with that. But you definitely don't want to waste any more time. We have to be active. We have to get out there in front of our customers. All right. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Good morning, John. This is Jessica. Thank you for the information. Awesome job. Much needed information. There was a slide that you had, and I typed in there as you were talking, but I'm sure you didn't see it. Let's go back to that slide. It was the one before the orange top to it.
Let's see. You tell me when to stop.
That one. Thank you.
Okay, that one.
Okay, hold on just a second. I need to get a picture of it. Okay. Thank you so much.
No worries. You go to Q1 Medicare. Oops. So this is what I was referencing. So there's a navigational bar across the top. So if you click on 2025, and now it gives you 2025 Medicare Part D Outlook. Tons of information here. I think there's a question about LIS. You click here, it'll give you a rundown of what we know about Medicare LIS as of now. I'd referenced before, I mean, it gives a lot of granular detail, but I referenced before a chart. Let me go back here. Like you can get lost in the weeds. There's a lot of detail there. But the chart that I referenced before here, this goes back to 2021. So yeah, the Part D deductible for 2025 is $590. So the point I was making is the insurance companies are now on the hook to pay 3 times as much of the cost for catastrophic coverage as they have in the past. Okay, so now they're looking to say, well, how can we recover some of that cost? Well, if any of those plans are offering to cover the Part D deductible, meaning, when you look at the summary of benefits for a Medicare Advantage plan, you get to the Part D, there's the section that references the deductible. And if that is covered, that means that the insurance company is covering the Part D deductible, and the consumer only has to pay their normal copay. So if they have a tier 1 with $0 prescriptions, that means tier 1, I mean, January, they pay nothing for their medication. All year long, they pay nothing. But if that plan no longer offers a Part D deductible coverage, that means the first $590 of the cost for their medications they have to pay for. Across the board on every consumer, that would save that insurance company $590 for every customer. So I would, if I were the CEO of an insurance company, a plan offer, that would be one of the first things I would look at, because that's one way we can cut costs across the board. So we won't know until we know. But what we have to do is look at things logically and say, hey, well, where might they cut costs in Part D plans? That's one of the big ones. Premiums are also an aspect, but you can see how everything is changing year over year. Okay. What other questions are there?
I did have a question, and that was, did you say that there are 3 different pearls on Medicare Center?
Yes, 3 different pearls based upon the enrollment platforms that are available through Medicare Center. So you have Medicare Center itself. So when you first log into integrity.com, that's bringing you directly into Medicare Center slash the Life Center. But also you have access to Connect Your DRX through they've rebranded them. So if I go to integrity.com, for example, but when you log in, that will take you to the Medicare Center. In the top right-hand corner, when you log in, you'll see your name. And if you click on your name, you'll see other enrollment platforms. I don't remember. I know the names of the products that they're using. I forget what they've renamed them to be. If anyone else can chime in there. But one's Connect Your DRX, one is Sunfire. And both of those platforms also offer a Pearl.
Okay, I was familiar with the one that if you go to Medicare Center, you go to account, and then you access your Pearl through that. And but a Pearl through well, I think it's called Medicare app, and what's the other one? Which is Connect Your DRX, and the other one's Sunfire. So I didn't know there were Pearls available for those as well.
There are. So if you go to the profile sections for either one of those, you'll be able to access your Pearl for either one of those platforms.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Great question.
John, I know we talked about some of that on our Thursday, but that'll be great for Thursday, the Sunfire and the Connect Your DRX.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Good deal. Now the key thing, like Medicare Center, for the most part, and for especially for seniors that are tech savvy enough to shop for themselves, Medicare Center will do a good job for them. And even for those that you're helping, it'll do a great job for them. The advantages for using Connect Your DRX or Sunfire is that through those platforms, you have voice enrollment available to you. And what I mean by that is for Medicare Center, you can text or email a link to the customer, and the customer basically clicks on that link and it takes them to a digital signature platform where they can enroll by effectively digitally signing those documents. But you're going to have some folks that just aren't tech savvy enough to do that. With Connect Your DRX, actually, I'm not sure if we have the function turned on Sunfire. Sunfire offers it. I'm not sure if Integrity has that function turned on. I know that Connect Your DRX, you can do voice signature, meaning that customer's verbal responses. You're reading a script, and that customer's verbal response constitutes their contractual agreement. So if you have someone that's not very tech savvy, Connect Your DRX would be the platform that you'd want to use. It gives you a script that you have to read, disclaimers that you have to read, and a checklist of all the things that you have to make sure are covered on that recorded call, as far as a summary of benefits and so forth. And then there's language where you're asking the customer certain prompts, and they're agreeing to be enrolled digitally. Those calls have to be recorded, though. If you're
I have
using,
a question about that.
Sure, go ahead.
If that's available, how do you record an SOA in that syncing process?
There is a scripted SOA that's available.
And where do we get the scripts from? Where I've never heard about this, so I'm asking, where is it located?
It's on the, so if you go into, let me see here, hold on. I might have to come out of sharing real quick. I tell you what, why don't we do this? Because that will be a big part of what I'll cover on Thursday. And that
Okay,
way I
I'll
can
just
be
come
better
through.
prepared to demonstrate that. But in short, when you go into Connect Your DRX, there is
Mhm.
a training module. In fact, I think Mike Larbert was one that brought it to my attention. They have their own training. And in that training, it teaches you how to do the scope of appointment and how to do a verbal enrollment, all by voice.
Hmm. Okay,
Okay, so I'll go over that on Thursday.
thanks.
No problem. I see a lot of information flying around here. Let's see here. Medicare, yep. Great, thank you. But correct. So supplements are not available on the Connect Your DRX on any of them because they're MAPD and Part D platforms. For supplements, actually, I don't know that there is a self-enrollment platform for supplements. So you'll want to walk customers through. If they're supplement customers, you want to walk them through the enrollment process and the shopping process. What else? Questions? Should we change?
Individual
John?
carriers do have pearls for the supplements at this time, but no, there is no flat across the board.
Yeah, so there's no one place you can go to shop for across carriers and do enrollments for supplements. Is that correct?
Correct.
Well, CSG might have a supplement enrollment platform.
They do, but one, it's not consumer facing, and number two, it doesn't offer enrollment for all carriers. There's a select number of carriers that it does offer enrollments for.
Hey,
Let's see
John,
here.
this is Karen Schindler. Quick question for you.
Uh-huh.
In order to use slide broadcast, any words of wisdom on how, if we're only using Integrity for our CRM, I don't think we have the ability to pull reports, to pull phone numbers out of there, or do we?
I think you can, let me think here, let me think. Clients. You know, that's a good question. I have
And
to
then you
test
have to
that out.
copy that list.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if you can export, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think you were working on setting it up so that we could export a list. A CV, what is that? CVS format?
CSV.
CSV, sorry.
Yeah. I have to check because the functionality on Medicare Center and so forth, they're not things I have any control over. But presumably if you're putting the data in there, then you should be able to extract it back out of there. So I would think there's an export function, but I'll have to, for like for most of us, well, I say for most of us, like for my team, most of us are using Zoho. So we already have our own set of books, our own copy of our book of business, and we can extract our numbers whenever we want to. I'll have to check to see whether or not how you can, because I know you can export leads from the lead center. I don't know if you can export the client data. That's what I have to verify. So I'll have an answer for that for Thursday as well. What
Hey,
other
John.
question? Yes.
John, where is Connect Your DRX? What platform is that on? Is that in the Medicare Center?
Yes, that's Medicare app.
Oh,
So when you log into, unfortunately, I'm out of the country, so I can't log into the website without being on a VPN. So when you log into integrity.com, you'll see your name in the top right-hand corner. If you click on your name, you'll see a drop down come down, and you'll see Medicare app, and I think the other one is Medicare Link. Medicare app is Connect Your DRX. Medicare Link is Sunfire. Once you click on that link, again, you'll see your name in the top right-hand corner. If you click on that, and then you'll see the option to go to your profile there as well. And that's where you can get your Pearl. But that's what I'll be going over in detail on Thursday.
okay. Thank you.
Hey, John, quick question. How do you feel, in your opinion, Medicare supplements will be affected by all these changes?
Oh, Medicare supplements are going to be impacted as well. The premiums on Medicare supplements are expected to go up. In fact, I saw a report. What did they say in that report? And don't hold me to it, but I saw something to the order of an expectation of like a $60 hike in premiums on average in Part D. I mean, on Medicare supplements. And again, there's a lot of data, that's information that's out there. There's a program being offered to supplement companies by the government, basically saying that, hey, look, if you agree to not increase your premiums by more than like $30 or $35 a year, we'll help subsidize the cost on the back end for you. So there's a lot going on. Like there's nobody's safe. Everyone is going to see some significant impact from this because it is a huge shift in cost for the insurance companies, and they have to shift some of that burden. Well, not shift the burden, but they have to pull that cost from benefits somewhere or increase cost of the premiums.
Hey, John,
Mhm.
will that affect also the supplements for the federal and state employees who chooses those who choose to keep their federal supplement, their state plan when they retire?
Across the board.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
there's still private insurance. It's just contracted through the state.
Oh, I'm grateful.
right.
Okay,
I mean,
thanks.
all of these great programs come down to that there is somebody hiring a private insurer to offer coverage. And at this point, now the private insurer is seeing a 7% or more increase in costs across the year just due to healthcare inflation. Plus, they're seeing these rule changes, so everybody's squeezing. And if the drug plans could have passed on the costs just flat across, the premiums would have jumped up to about $55.
Okay.
But because that law also had a cap on how much they could increase premiums, they could only increase premiums by about 2%. That's what the cap was. So you're going to see a lot higher drug costs as well.
Yeah, I think it was $2, 6%.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I put it in the chat earlier.
Yeah.
So I have a question. How do we capitalize on that? Because some of my friends have already asked me that question, and I told them I'd give them updates when I had answers. So if they wanted me to help them, is there a way for us to capitalize on that? Because
Yeah,
they're
yes, you capitalize by building your book of business. You capitalize by getting in front of the crap storm so that you're the one bringing the information. And you capitalize by making sure people put your name in their phones and you put their phone number in your system as well, so that you are blowing up everybody's phones before October. And then October, you're writing business.
Okay, so in other words, what I was thinking was that some of them are saying that the state is going to choose a plan for them. So that does still give us the window to help them. If the state is doing it, we probably can offer an option, correct?
So what you're referencing there, it sounds like more of a Medicaid thing, and that's
No,
always
it's not Medicaid. It's not. No, it's state
You say
employees.
this. Oh, state employees.
Mhm.
Okay, so in other words, if they have employer-sponsored benefits,
Mhm.
then the employer has entered into contracts and is subsidizing contracts with specific carriers. And if they want to use, so for example, let's say I work for Acme Company, and I'm Acme Company, and for my retirees, I offer a insurance plan where I'm paying half of whatever your premiums are, but I'm choosing what companies are available to you that I'm going to pay the 50% for. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, but then there are others that are saying that they're just not paying for it. So it seems to me that that would be the opportunity that we could capitalize on.
So one thing to bear in mind, and just to remember, if you're paying, FICA taxes, when you retire, you always have the option to choose how you use your Medicare benefits. No one can strip you of that. No company you work for can strip you of that. The company can offer an alternative, but they can't strip you of the right to use your Medicare benefits just like any other citizen can use their Medicare benefits. They can just give you another option.
Okay. All right. So what I thought was right. Thanks.
No problem.
Hey,
I have a
John,
question. I'm sorry. I put a question in the chat. John, if you could take a look at it. It's on Zoho Voice and AEP. Any benefits that you want to highlight with that? And I only pay the $45. I think I have to pay extra to get the voice. And how do I do that? And what are the benefits for using Zoho Voice during AEP?
Okay. So let me address that in a couple ways. So in terms of functionality, right now with Integrity, you have access to a recorded number with your Medicare Center platform. A number is assigned to you, and with that number, you're able to designate where any calls to that number are forwarded. So you can have those calls forwarded anywhere you want, a cell phone, whatever, desk phone, whatever. Now, the limitation on that side is that you cannot send text messages through those numbers, okay? The other thing I would emphasize is you say during AEP, okay, when you're picking a phone number or any kind of, a service that's going to give you a phone number, you don't want to take a seasonal approach to that. Like you want to, if you're going to have a service with a phone number, you want to be married to that number. Because if I sign up for a service with a number and then AEP ends and I turn that number off and a customer calls me on the number and I no longer have it, you're losing opportunity. So you want to be, it's a part of your business. You want to own that number. Does that make sense?
Right. So there's a different plan that we have to sign up for. It's not the basic $45 plan that gives you all the communication and everything in terms of messaging and everything. Is that a different
Correct.
plan? So
Yeah.
can you send me the link to sign up for that?
That would be from Mike. Now, one of the things I will say is that we're in the process right now of discussing shifting what service we use on the back end. So we'll have that resolved very quickly. But as it stands right now, and whatever solution we have will operate the same way. The way a phone system works is in our Zoho, with your Zoho customers, when you're using our phone platform, any inbound or outbound messages, any inbound text messages or outbound text messages through our phone platform are attached to that customer's record, as long as the number the customer is using is on that customer's profile. So in other words, someone calls in on your phone number, the system goes into Zoho and says, okay, who does this phone number belong to? And it automatically attaches that call to that customer's profile. The reason I emphasize that is sometimes customers will call you from a number you don't have. The system doesn't know who that number belongs to either. The call is still recorded. It's still linked in our database. It's just not associated with any person because the system doesn't know who that number belongs to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes. So just updates on that in terms of phones, that would help. And
Yep.
with the Zoho, is I'm not clear on how it's working right now.
Got it. Okay.
John, is there a chance that Integrity will work on that, having more than one phone number attached to a record? I have found that a lot of the clients do have more than one number. Either it's they have two numbers for whatever reason, or their adult child takes care of them and wants to be in on conversations and decision making. And I'd love to be able to link it to the main customer. That way, when the calls come in, it connects. And you're right, when your customer calls in and they're not using the exact same call number that you used for enrollment, then you have to chase it.
Right.
Is Integrity working on this?
It's something I have to check on. The key thing there is it can be tricky because, as an example, you have a husband and wife that use their home phone number as their phone number. So now the system has two different records because in Medicare, you don't have family accounts. Each person's an individual. So now you have two different people with the same phone number. The system's like, okay, who do I give this to? So it becomes even more complex when there's multiple numbers. But it's something I'll check on and see where integrity is in terms of adding additional phone numbers. And to your point, like decision makers and things along those lines. We have those fields in Zoho. So for Zoho, any one customer can have up to 4 phone numbers associated with them. Their cell phone, their home phone, and they can have 2 additional decision makers affiliated with them in Zoho. So you can put any of those numbers in. And again, the challenge, the one thing what Zoho does is if there's 2 people with the same phone number, it's alphabetically going to associate the call with the person that comes first alphabetically. So if it's Alfred Jones and Betty Jones, and they're using their home phone number, you'll probably see all the calls associated with Alfred Jones because he comes first alphabetically in terms of customers with that same phone number. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right.